RCB, defending IPL champions RCB, so much has changed for them, and yet so much also stands to change. How will everything happening around RCB affect their retention strategy ahead of IPL 2026? Let's discuss that with the chatter crew. Ronak, Nagraj, Dustin, thank you for your time. Who wants to start us off with how much stands to change for RCB?
The kind of stuff I'm picking up on my feed these days, which on social media is not in my control, which is RCB fans worried about whether their team name will change, whether it will reset from 0 titles like a Deccan Chargers to Sunrisers Hyderabad. From what I gather from reading the official sort of statements about this being the parent company of RCB deciding that they are going to divest. This essentially is going to be the sale of a franchise in which the name and brand of the franchise is going to be of great value in the sale itself. So I don't think this is going to be RCB changing into some completely different team with new ownership like it was in the case of Deccan and Sunrisers. Maybe they'll still have some kind of stake and they'll release a majority stake, the current parent company, which is Diageo. But I don't think so much will change. I would be absolutely staggered if someone sells RCB and says you can't call it RCB from day after, because that affects in many ways the essence of what
The brand
is. It's the biggest sporting brand across sport, not just in cricket. It's one of the most recognizable ones. So all that aside, so I'm just letting you know, I think all the fans should know that I think RCB's count will remain and they will have a star when they take the IPL next year. That's how I wanted to start things off. As far as what happens to the biggest question from a cricketing point is, if they're not going to play the Chinnaswamy, then how does that affect their tactics? And I actually think last year was a great year where they had a good enough squad that could have performed anywhere. And if we recall, they won on the road and struggled to win at the
Everything.
Chinnaswamy. Yeah, and that was extraordinary for Andy Flower, for Dinesh Karthik, for their entire RCB management, and for Rajat Patidar in his first year. So I actually don't think it's the kind of alarm bells that I'm sure RCB fans might be thinking. I don't think this squad needs too much tinkering. Maybe the odd player or two, which we'll get into. And there will be people lining up with a red carpet for RCB to play as the home team in an adopted home venue.
Even RCB have started in a way mentally thinking which are the other venues that we should look at. I think Pune, Trivandrum, Vizag are being told as 3 venues where they could look out as an alternate home venue in case, I mean, this is all the state government is involved, the Karnataka government is involved, based on the permissions that are granted, whether the Karnataka government believes that cricket should take place, because a lot of cricket has not happened in Bangalore. Marquee tournaments have not happened there. I think a T20 tournament was played behind closed doors, etc., because the crowds also will come in. So I think till that Stampede controversy is cleared by the government, there is going to be no definitive clarity on whether RCB will play in Chinnaswamy next season, 2026 IPL or not. They are looking at options, whether they play part of it there, part somewhere else. That's on the venue question. Whether it affects the auction planning, no, because they only have, personally, I feel, only 2 players to look at whether they, for different reasons, they might consider. One of them is Liam Livingston, who they bought at 8.75. I only think Livingston might not have. Livingston also, if you remember, played after Tim David, I think got injured for a certain part of IPL last year. So David comes back, so Livingston that way will be on the bench because Romario Shepherd is the other guy who performed his role well. So if he stays fit, then Livingston sits on the bench, but it's 8.75. Do you want to kind of bring him to the auction when they don't have the purse to buy a Cam Green or anybody? Do they risk that? That's the question RCB will have to look at. And the other guy is Yash Dayal, for a completely different set of reasons, who has not played since last IPL because there are certain legal proceedings that have been initiated against him in a certain courts. So he himself has asked for the break recently in the UP T20. He said told the organizers he's not going to be playing. And so here the BCCI will also probably come into play, so RCB might even keep in frozen like for the next season in case things get cleared. If he's cleared and all that, he obviously will come, because he's a high skill set bowler who has performed at different pressure points for them, and he's been a performer for them.
I actually have a different perspective. I think that last year RCB winning was a complete fluke and they should overhaul that team. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I have nothing much more to add. I think it'll be at the most minor tweaks, like as Nagraj mentioned, but most likely they just keep the same squad.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
The one thing I'll just say is that RCB will just have to keep a close eye on possibilities between now and the start of the IPL, especially with Josh Hazelwood, who will, in all likelihood, play full Ashes and is not among the retired players in T20 cricket like his friend and colleague Mitch Stark. So there's going to be a
Yep.
T20 World Cup. And you know what Hazelwood's absence can be. It leaves a huge void. They had a blessed season last year. Nuwan Tushara played one game and did well. Liam Livingston came back towards the end and did have an impact in the final. A number of the Lungi Ngidi was impactful in the odd game that he played. So Romario Shepherd had a role to play, and did it superbly. So even their reserve players were great. For me, it's just business as usual and try and improve on, the players that you already had last year and try and keep that going. Even Mayank Agarwal was, somebody that added value. So maybe they'll retain a host of late players that they got in as well and leave themselves very little to do.
All franchises have the advantage that the Ashes will be 2 tests sold by the time auction starts. So they'll also be wary of which other, like you were saying, I think you were suggesting in the sense that Hazel would like have a good backup for him in case there is any fitness issues, etc. So yeah, so that's a thing. The last point I want to make is like, I think we should tell people that the review, the strategic review, I think Ronak, you touched upon that at the start. The strategic review of having divesting stake in RCB will have no impact at all on 2026 IPL planning, auction, etc. And the season. So I don't think that is going to create any sort of distraction for these guys.
Unless Kohli retires.
On that note,
Just when I thought Dustin's one sentence would be the most
No.
highlightable.
Before people, rush, will actually get attacks, I'm going to just say that's
Yes.
he's going to play for a long time. But just on that, the bowling point is something they will have to keep an eye out for. Bhuvneshwar Kumar is going to be 36 next year.
6, yes.
And I hope he sort of continues, but we don't see much of Bhuvi between IPL to IPL, and he's that kind of guy. But I hope he's just as good, fully fit, raring to go. But in Hazelwood, Bhuvi, you don't suddenly want to be at the IPL, finding both of them not necessarily available. So I think for those kind of contingencies, they have to prepare. But of all the problems you want to have, those are hardly the biggest ones. So good, RCB is fine.
If they are to look to make those contingencies at this year's auction, the only way to make that would be by releasing someone like a Livingston. Could that be something that tempts them to
All these
find that
scouts,
9
all these
crore?
scouts
you look at
keep
the
talent.
Sorry, go on, Dustin.
I said all these scouts for like uncapped talent, that they can make up with maybe releasing some of the uncapped players and just look to do it that way. That could be one option.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
in the high price players, you can't. I don't see a name that they will immediately offload.
I can only consider like maybe somebody like Mohammad Shami, who may not find a lot of big bids from other
You mean?
franchises.
Okay.
And if they then consider like, okay, Shami at 6-7 crore, maybe they'll be willing to pay closer to a higher amount because they'll only have 1 or 2 players to fill, and you'll have an experienced player who'll have a point to prove next year. So that I can see happening potentially.
That will do it for RCB. Do you expect any changes? Tell us in the comments.